Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Bias,
And I'm Terrence Taylor.
and I guess
We just jump right
yeah.
into
Let's just
the.
jump right into it. This isn't exactly we have a formal name for the show. It's just a recast real quick, but let's get right into it. So the topic we're going to be talking about today is the Flint water crisis. This is quite a travesty happening here in America, and Terrence is going to read off some facts about it before we get started into our opinion-based portion of the show. So Terrence, if you don't mind.
Yep. So basically, about 2 years ago, Flint made that to save money. They made a switch from Lake Huron to Flint's their water supply. But
The Flint River.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But what's it called? Like, according to CNN stats, the Flint River is highly corrosive, 19 times more so than the Lake Huron supply actually. So they basically went from clean water to unclean water to try and save money, which obviously was a terrible idea because during that whole 2 year span, they actually found there was traces of lead in the water, and officials say, oh, the water is still clean, you can still drink from it, but no, it was actually it's still unclean. It's unclean tap water, and so you have people and children drinking Flint's unclean tap water that has traces of what's it called? Like I said, traces of lead in it. People thought was sewage in it, but the water turned brown because of there was bad pipes.
Yeah,
So
the lead in the water would actually um, erode the pipes.
exactly, so it
brown.
turned the water brown. Yet officials were still saying that like the water is still clean, that people can still drink from this. Meanwhile, there's people that's trying to they're trying to say this water is very unclean, especially we have our children drinking this toxic water. So basically, the people of Flint were basically paying for unclean water, while like I said, the officials paying for unclean water, while the people, they're paying for this toxic water that's going into their house.
If I could actually touch on that real quick, that's actually a good point you mentioned, because even though the water in Flint is pretty much undrinkable, people still have to actually pay water bills in their houses,
Exactly. And I just
which
want
is
you know,
absolutely crazy.
and just working off of that, we're lucky to live in New York City, where we have like the cleanest tap water there is,
Yeah.
and everything.
Yep.
So like it just makes no sense, as a country, that there should be like a major crisis right here, especially like you said before we came in here talking about Flint and the crime rates and everything
Yeah.
that they have there.
Yep.
And you said it's like 60% African Americans there.
Yeah. Uh, if you know Michael Moore, a well-known documentary filmmaker, mostly about political stuff, he actually is from Flint, and he mentioned that he was the one that mentioned that Flint is about 60 or 70. I don't remember the exact number. 60 to 70% African American, and he actually said that it was a racial killing, or it's a racial crime now. He called it a black genocide. Now, obviously, that's very strong. I don't know if that's the case, because obviously he's from Flint, and there are white people that live in Flint. But the fact that we're supposed to be a developed country. There are third world countries that struggle with dirty water, and while it is sad, I believe that it's even worse that a country that considers themselves to be the best country in the world is going to have a city where people can't even drink water because it's corrosive and it's unhealthy. Not even unhealthy, it's water, but the fact that it's undrinkable. I mean,
Exactly. And like I said, they blame the DEQ and everything for that whole crisis and situation, and not properly taking care of the situation. Instead of like I said before, instead of just saying, hey, the water is dirty, instead you're telling people a lie and saying that the water is clean, knowing that it's not.
exactly.
And that's just a big problem and everything.
And actually, you touch on it's all because of money. Flint, obviously, it's also a very economically poor city.
Exactly. Like, they live
Well,
in
actually, I
poverty.
just say poor, but they're relatively poor city, and so they had to switch to the Flint River because they didn't have enough money to keep getting water from Lake Huron near Detroit. So that's the reason why they switched, and that's the reason why they keep telling people the water was safe and water was clean, because they wanted to save money. Specifically, Governor New York, Michigan,
Yeah.
Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, he kept it that way so that way they could save money, And now you have people have to donate. Isn't it crazy? People have to donate bottles of water
Exactly. I was just about
to
to
a
say
city
that too.
in the United States.
Yeah, I was just about to say that they have to do
Yeah.
just like what you said. They have to give bottled water to people in Flint, Michigan, because the water is unclean. I was just about to touch on that topic though, and
Yeah.
it's really ridiculous and everything to have to go through something like that. Like, just living in the United States, this great country and everything, and the fact that we have to donate water to, to just because it's a smaller city and everything, we have to donate water to them.
Kind of puts things in perspective, actually,
Exactly.
And maybe this country isn't so great, but
exactly. Meanwhile, while we, we're living and we have clean water and everything, and we have to be grateful for that.
I'm really grateful for that.
Exactly.
Actually,
And while sometimes we take advantage of water usage in New York City, especially though, because we have clean running water, and people just tend to just leave the showers on or have the water running for no reason.
Yeah.
While in Flint, they're actually suffering from this crisis situation right here.
Yeah, let me cut you off there, but
Mm-hmm.
they actually have they have to use bottled water not only to drink, but they have to use the bottled water to cook. They have to use it to actually bathe in, because the water just can't be used. I remember, it wasn't too long ago. It wasn't a huge issue. It was like a couple seconds when the water turned brown in my apartment. Well, I don't.
It's happened to the rest of us before too. It's happened to me too.
But and I was like, oh my god, I can't drink it. It's terrible. But the fact that people in Flint actually have to deal with this now.
Exactly, like they have to deal with it. Exactly. They dealt with it for 2 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we've dealt with it for like a day, maybe like a few hours or so, and then
Probably
exactly, and then it just goes away. But no, they're constantly dealing with this crisis and this situation, and like it definitely needs to be taken care of and everything.
Definitely, and Flint, is in Michigan. That whole state really is. I'm not gonna say something wrong with it. It's a state. People are people. But the way that, like, the things happening at state are pretty tragic. Because obviously you have the city of Detroit going bankrupt. Flint's always been a mess, and they have the whole water crisis. I mean, Michigan is in shambles.
Exactly. So it's the fact that they're already living in poverty, and like now.
Well, of course, not everyone, of course.
Not everybody, but like in general though, like the population itself, they're in somewhat poverty.
Yeah.
And now you're just making it like they're not helping the fact that there's no clean water now. It's
like that's the one thing that they had at least.
Exactly. Like that's the water is your main supply for almost everything out there though.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like they're not doing much to help out. Like the fact that officials just had to say that the water is clean, you could drink from it. Like many people are gonna have problems with this. That's why.
But if you think about it, it's really kind of a lose-lose, because you either go back to getting the water from Lake Huron, but then that's more money.
Exactly.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say I understand why they wouldn't have the people in Flint have clean water, but you have to think about priorities. What is, like, there might be some things that Flint might not have, but if you don't have clean water, then how are you gonna live?
Exactly.
There's certain things that are more important. While governments, whether it be national or state governments, they tend to talk about things such as creating jobs and lowering crime. That's great and everything, but at the end of the day, people need to live in order for you to have a state to govern, to have a city to govern. So clean water, I think, would be paramount. So
exactly.
There's that. And honestly, if I wasn't broke, I would actually do something like
donate to them too.
Yeah, but I can't really. I have no money.
Exactly. Like it's just something.
So
it's just something that we just have to touch on. Just be like, we're grateful for something as water usage in America, to how we in New York, I mean, how we have clean water, and
Definitely.
just to hear something like this, it's actually a really big topic that should definitely be taken care of.
Exactly. Obviously at the presidential, I find it kind of strange that none of the presidential candidates like spoke on it at all.
Exactly. That's actually a little bit weird that none of them said, hey, we want to make sure, especially for what's it called, Hillary Clinton, how she talks about, this whole equality thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, she talks about how everybody needs to like be equal to each other. So it's actually weird how like none of them, especially her, mentioned about Flint and how this is technically
It's actually I'll go off there, but I believe President Obama actually considered it a national emergency.
Is that he actually did? He did
He did.
actually consider it a national emergency.
Yeah. So
and it's questionable if other candidates will like if whichever one becomes president actually like say something about it or do something about the crisis in Flint. Actually,
yeah, exactly. And the fact that it's a national emergency and that these candidates are talking about is a little worrisome and also a little strange. I mean, it's becoming more of a circus now, this whole debate between the Republican candidates and Democratic candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what's up with that. So
exactly.
Whatever. So that's going to be it for our VCast. Rob Bias here.
Terrence Taylor.
And I'm not really a religious person, but, best, stay strong, the people of Flint. Hopefully you guys will get clean water sooner than later. I guess we could just end it there.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you all for listening.